mercy prevails over my wrath.
Welcome to NocBro Nation.
Welcome, guys.
Hey, guys. Today, we are finally, the day has come to give a review for The Walking Dead again.
What an episode it was.
Yeah, episode 9.
Episode 9, Honor. I literally had tissues in hand because I was crying on every scene of Carl.
You wimp.
Whatever, you were crying too.
I'm joking. It was, we knew it was coming. We'll get into it here in a little bit, but overall, it was a very exciting episode.
Yeah.
A good mid-season premiere for season 8.
Very powerful.
Yeah.
Chandler Riggs, awesome performance. Greg Nicotero, what a way to executive produce that thing.
Yeah, I mean, he's done it quite a few now, and it seems like every time Nicotero does an episode, it's just by far the
It's great.
better episode of the season.
Yeah.
Right.
It was awesome.
So yeah, to commemorate our first review again, because we have been reviewing for The Walking Dead since this season started, since our channel started.
Yep.
But I am wearing the Survivor shirt, and Jarell here is wearing the Kingdom. Which we didn't really plan it this way, but that was really the only factions that were shown in the episode.
Exactly.
Well, other than the Saviors,
but they're very small.
They have to be in it, right?
Exactly.
All right, so let's get into it. We're not going to go scene by scene, but we'll kind of talk about some of the major points, starting with kind of the smaller ones at first.
Just grouping things together, make it a little bit easier.
Yeah, the Sanctuary breakout. So we get a scene in the episode where the truck scene, the walkers are commencing upon the Sanctuary, and we get to see Morgan kind of scoping the situation, right?
Yeah, he's on walkie with the others that are in the other towers, and they're seeing what they're doing, and Morgan is seeing that they're starting to shoot. The Saviors are starting to shoot all the walkers. Now, at first, they're just like, they're going to run out of bullets before anything even happens. And over the course of maybe a minute or two, Morgan starts to see their plan is the more walkers they're shooting, they're starting to pile up. And as those piles get bigger, the other walkers behind them can't force their way in. So the Saviors are making a path so they can get out. And Morgan senses this, and he's like, they're going to get out.
Why didn't he just snipe the guys that were shooting?
Yeah, that's what I thought too. It was like, dude, you have clear line of sight. Just kill them right now.
Yeah, he could have. I mean, unless he didn't want to give up his location.
That's probably the main thing, is that they didn't want to let the Saviors know that they were there. But the Saviors already knew that, because as they were running out, they started shooting up there. Yeah. And he tells everybody, let's get out of there, get out of there.
So Morgan gets loose. At this time, he escapes the barrage of bullets that the Saviors are now firing upon him. He gets out onto the road, and he notices a caravan of cars, Savior cars, making their way down the road. Now, what we find out is this is towards the Kingdom, and this is Gavin and his crew.
Yep. So he's just hiding, and he starts, as the caravan goes by, he starts running that way. And that's pretty much it for the Sanctuary breakout. Yeah. So it was pretty quick, but there's an interesting way of them getting out. You know, it makes sense to pile the bodies up. The other ones can't do anything.
And it directly goes into our next nice little segue into the Kingdom part of the episode.
Yes, the Kingdom, which was a really, really cool. Lots of really good scenes. Yeah. King Ezekiel is there. He's kind of, he's being held captive by Gavin, and they're in the Kingdom.
Who did we say in our last episode?
We said Garrett. And we've gone back and forth between Garrett and Gavin, and one of our subscribers
it's Gavin.
No, yeah. It's Gavin. So they're just in the Kingdom taking supplies, and Gavin is continuing telling Ezekiel, we're basically loading up supplies. Then we're taking you to Negan, and he is going to kill you.
Yeah.
This will be your last ride.
Yeah.
But I love the interaction between him and Ezekiel. Ezekiel is just, he's like, look, I have made a decision that I can live with. I have guided my people to freedom. You need to make your choice now of what you want to do.
Yeah.
And Gavin seems conflicted by a lot of the stuff. In a way, he seems conflicted. It's like he's sympathizing with them.
At first you thought, but it kind of, we initially thought that Gavin was kind of a sympathetic kind of savior because he was willing to kind of not let things get out of control. He even got pissed off when one of the other saviors got out of hand during the exchange and hit him, like the long-haired dude. So you got a sense he was a little bit more sympathetic to what was going on. But really, it was just him. It was just him. It was a lighter savior. I mean, he even admits during the struggle, you know, of the kingdom and of the situation with King Ezekiel that, look, I'm a savior. I am who I am. I'm not going to change.
I'm not going to change. Yeah. He's kind of talking to Ezekiel like he's a whipped dog. Like the reason he says, "Look, I liked you," is because you got it, because you did everything we said without trying to come at us. He's like, what did Gavin say? His line was kind of like, "You knew that your life could not get any better, and I liked you for that."
Yeah,
you know.
Well, he also said that he never got any big plans in his head.
Exactly.
And that Rick, until he met Rick, who planted one right in there.
Yeah.
So I mean, it was cool, but in the long run, Morgan and Carol commence upon the kingdom and kind of slowly go in and out of the kingdom, taking out saviors as they make their way towards King Ezekiel, who they know Morgan saw that Gavin has him captured.
Morgan knows where they are. They're on the opposite side of the building, and they start making their way through. They also see that Carol was leading some of the people away, and the one little kid, Henry, who Morgan trained, and she trained with a gun. He's like, I really want to help.
Is that Ben's brother?
Yeah, I think it is Ben's brother. He wanted to help, and Carol's like, no, you're not helping. And as Morgan got to the kingdom, he saw him running. He was like in the background. It was really dark, late at night, and he sees him running, and he doesn't know where he went to. So Carol and Morgan, like we said, hatched a plan to just let's go get Ezekiel and take those guys out.
But first we see Morgan kind of say, we can take them all out. We can do this.
One by one.
One by one. We can do this. Right. And wow.
Carol was like, let's just methodically think of this properly. There were one scene where they were going into a building and Morgan heard a couple guys and she whispers to him, she's like, leave it alone.
They're packing up a truck off to the side of the building.
Morgan's not going to do that.
Yeah.
No. He's there to take them all out, which he does, but he was saved by Carol because a guy had a gun pointed at him and she saved his life.
Yeah, so he takes two of them out, and then here's the third guy obviously witnessing everything and is literally about to kill Morgan before Carol saves his life.
But just the look on Morgan's face when he kills them, and then of course to make sure they are dead, when he's stabbing the stake into them, he's just like I mean, the dude, like, no remorse on his face, just stone-faced stoic.
It was old Morgan.
It was old Morgan.
Old crazy Morgan.
Old crazy Morgan, where he has just lost all reality. And I do like that Morgan, but I like him. I like that way because he needs to help out. But I do like the other Morgan where, you see that himself.
It's very resemblant of, I can't remember what season. I want to say season 4, I believe. When they captured Morgan, or when they came across Morgan and he was in that apartment. And he's writing clear all over the place.
Right.
It reminds me of that Morgan. I mean, it's clear, no pun intended, that Morgan is starting to lose his grip on reality again. He's not in that life is precious mode. Right. He now understands that, okay, I have a job to do, and we need to do it. Like, we got to kill every savior.
Right. Yeah. And so they start attacking where Gavin and Ezekiel are before they leave. They retreat. Gavin retreats into a church, or into the grand hall where Ezekiel used to sit with his throne. And they bust in and they take everyone out, except for Gavin. He gets shot in the leg. He runs outside. Morgan finds him. He does what?
You're forgetting one gruesome scene.
Well, yeah, the gruesome scene.
This is where we kind of truly know that, yes, Morgan has lost his shit.
He got into a fight with a savior who was shot. They were fighting, and as he was lying on the bottom, he sticks his hand into the dude's wound and pulls out his intestines. Oh, it was awesome.
It was a pretty brutal scene.
It was.
When I saw that, I was blown away. Because, you're talking about last season where people were bitching about the gore.
Yeah. It was pretty gory.
He just pulled his guts out.
Yeah. Ezekiel's telling him to stop, don't go after Gavin. Morgan's like, nope. Everyone else is dead. We just got to finish this.
Yeah, and here's another thing. When we watched the sneak peek of the episode, you're like, why is Morgan drawing a line in the sand? What side are you going to be on? Come to find out, no, he's dragging the stick like a psycho.
Yeah, he's dragging it like a psycho. Yeah, because Gavin's hiding in this little area, and I think dragging the stick, Gavin can hear that. He's just doing it to mess with him, but he's being psychotic about it. Pulls Gavin out. He's not contemplating killing him, but he's taking a while to kill him. Gavin's like, so what? You're doing all this because we killed the kid, killing Ben? He's like, you're taking revenge on us because of this.
Meanwhile,
he's conflicted, and Morgan is conflicted.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Because Carol and Ezekiel come out, and they're kind of confronting Morgan. Look, you don't have to do this.
She's like, you don't. I can tell you don't want to do this.
Yeah. So they're kind of. And this is the moment, and again, when we saw in the trailer, where he turns to her and he says, I have to. Again, he's got that in his mind that he has to clear. He has to kill.
Well, the first one, he says, he kind of choked up because he's like, he's so emotional. He says, I have to, but he really choked up. And then again, he said it clearly. He's like, I have to.
Yeah.
And he's losing it.
And we predicted this.
We predicted he would die, but he gets killed by an unlikely person.
Yeah.
As Morgan's about to stab him, he gets stabbed from the opposite side. And as he falls, it's little Henry, who somehow snuck up behind him without them seeing him.
I also think it was little Henry that was setting off the charges, the explosives. Like when they first got King Ezekiel. Before Morgan and Carol got to the auditorium, there was an explosion.
I think that was them. They just threw that explosion and then they rerouted around the backside.
I thought it was maybe Ben or Henry.
Well,
we don't really know.
From the look on their face, they had no idea he was there. Well, Morgan knew he was there, but he didn't know where. But when they saw Henry actually killed him, Morgan and Carol were just like, oh my God, in a sense, like, what are you doing here? Where'd you come from? I doubt it was him, but
we don't know.
We don't really know.
But, obviously Carol's pissed off because here's a little boy that was kind of not really forced to do that. He made the decision he wanted to do that. He wanted to react revenge for his brother. He even says, this guy killed my brother.
Right. Ezekiel's kind of, comforting him. Telling him not to look at the guy, but he says everything will be okay. Ezekiel tells Morgan we should leave, and Morgan, stone face, says, no, we're not leaving.
Nope.
Morgan's not done. So that was pretty much the kingdom.
Is that where it ended?
Yeah.
With that?
Pretty much, yeah. That was Morgan saying no, and that was pretty much it for the kingdom.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it was really good though, because we're now, it kind of sets up for where how Morgan is going to be throughout the season and how we will see what happens to him breaking, leaving the group and going to Fear.
We'll get into that in a predictions video. Definitely some interesting stuff with Morgan and getting to see him kind of lose control of reality. We get to probably the most important part of the episode, and that is Carl.
Alexandria and Carl. Mostly, it's in Alexandria. They're all in the sewer, but the majority of it is Carl in the sewer.
I loved the opening of the episode.
Yeah.
So, within the first 5 minutes of the episode, we get confirmation that no, they're not joking around.
No.
Carl is bit.
They showed, little clips of them digging a grave. Or putting the dirt in the grave. We just knew automatic. It was just
it opens up with Rick.
Right, yeah, we'll get into that. That's part of the vision thing. Yeah. Or not, kind of the ending, but we'll get to that. But
we actually get to see the moment where Carl gets bit and his reaction to getting bit. Like, not only the second he got bit, but the aftermath. And it was actually quite beautiful in a way, where he's preparing for his final moments. He knows it's over.
And we'll go back to when he got bit. It was kind of interesting because as the walker is on top of him and he's holding it up, it almost seems like you can see in his eyes. It almost seemed like he was just ready to just let the walker go and die. Didn't it seem like he wasn't struggling hard enough?
But it wasn't the one that he was holding.
No,
it was another one that came underneath.
Yeah, no, I know. But the one that was on top of him, it seemed like he was just about to just say, you know what, screw it, I'll die. Because he wasn't like struggling and trying to push him off. The look in his eyes and his face was kind of blank. It kind of looked, okay, I'm ready. But then you see the, oh my God, because he sees he got bit. He feels it, and the look in his eyes, and like we said, he's looking in the mirror. He's looking at his bite. He starts going through the process of writing the letters, a ton of letters. I mean, we see, I think the only ones we saw were Dad, Michonne, and Enid, but there was a stack of letters.
There was quite a few. You got to wonder if there's one for Negan.
Maybe. He was hanging out with Judith. He was...
We'll get to that.
What?
Oh, I thought you were talking about the Negan scene.
No.
Oh, okay.
No, he was hanging out with Judith, hand painting, taking pictures.
The hand painting got me.
Yeah, just hanging out with Judith and spending time with her.
Yeah.
So it was really good, that piece. In the sewer was more of the emotional stuff. Everybody knows that Carl's bit. He's sick. Carl explains to Carl explains to Rick and Michonne how he got bit. Yeah. And he says, look, I did this bringing somebody back. This wasn't the Saviors. Don't be angry. Don't be angry at them, because his words are, it just happened. It's all it is. It just happened.
Yeah, and that conversation started because immediately Rick's first reaction was to blame the Saviors.
Yep.
They did this. He said that. They did this.
Yep.
And Carl stopped him and said, no, I got bit. He said that two or three times. I just got bit.
It just happened. Bringing Siddiq back. And it's just, I mean, it's even, and then, we see him give the letters to Michonne, and she's, of course, everyone's emotional. I mean, it's really hard to, it still makes me emotional just thinking about it.
Because we've gone 8 seasons. We've seen this. We've seen him when he was a little boy, to whatever his age is in the show now. But we get to see the progression of that character and the relationships that he had with those people, like Michonne, for example. That, in a way, was his mother and his step, whatever you want to call it, after his real mother passed. But his best friend.
Yep.
And he turns to her and says, I forgot what it was, something like, don't let this be...
don't take this with you.
Don't take this with you.
Not this part.
Yeah.
Don't take this part with you.
Don't be sad about this.
Because she struggled. I mean, the death of her son and her brother and boyfriend, I mean, she struggled with... And everyone struggled with loss, but Michonne has really struggled with it.
Yeah.
It took a while for Michonne to open up, because she struggled with it, and he doesn't want her to take this with her, this part with her, because he knows that this would affect her. And like he says, he tells Michonne, you need to be strong for my dad and for yourself.
Yeah.
Really powerful stuff. It's sad. It's sad. I mean, he's explaining the whole Siddiq thing. I mean, Siddiq is... offered up, medicine, because Siddiq was a doctor.
A resident.
A resident, but doctor, so to speak.
A resident.
Yeah.
I'm just giving you shit.
Yeah, and that's what Rick asked Carl. Was like, did you know that he was a doctor? Is that why you were bringing him back? And he was like, no. He's just, this was the guy at the gas station that you saw that, hey, I thought he needed us, and I wanted to bring him back to give him not give him a shot, but give him a better life, in a sense. Just being who I am. And he's referenced his mother a couple times about how Mom always wanted me to do the right thing.
Yeah.
And that's the whole point.
During that, God, sad, man.
I know, it's a lot.
During that, we get, briefly, Michonne gets up and walks away from Carl. She does this in anger. Because of what's happened to Carl, and goes straight after Dwight and just pushes him up against the wall and begs him for him to go and tell Negan, the Saviors, to stop what they're doing. Because as they're in this sewer, Alexandria is being bombarded with grenades, bombs, whatever it is.
Yeah. And yeah, Dwight says, look, I can't do it, but they are not here to take over Alexandria. They don't have the men and they don't have the firepower. Eventually, they're going to give up and they're going to leave. So we have to wait. He says, like, he stresses this very strenuously.
Because who wants to leave?
We have to wait. Tara.
Yeah, Tara wants to leave.
Tara wants to go.
Doesn't Rosita want to leave at first?
At first.
Yeah.
At first she does, and then once she hears Dwight say, look, it'd be better. We have to stay here until they're gone. Then we can leave. And Rosita's the first one to say, Dwight's right. We should stay. And then Michonne calms down, and she's like, okay. And everything's cool. And that's where we hear the line from Dwight, are you sure you want to go to the hilltop, everyone together? And that's when we hear Daryl. This would be the worst damn nightmare.
All of us together. Be his worst damn nightmare.
Which you can barely see his face because he always has his hair covering his face. But and he's holding Judith. He was holding Judith for quite a while. And after kind of the bombardment started to let up, Dwight gives Judith to Carl.
Which, to Rick.
Or to Rick, excuse me, so we can go take a look.
Was a sad scene in itself. Yeah. Because you can just see that pain in both Daryl and Rick's eyes. I mean, Daryl loves Carl just as much as Rick does, and cares the same amount for Rick. Yeah. And when he hands over Judith, and you just see that pat on the shoulder that he gives him, it was just a sign of endearment that he feels for him.
Yeah.
And he goes up to check on the Alexandria to make sure that it's clear.
Yep.
And that's when we kind of start to say our goodbyes.
Yeah.
Everybody that's in the sewer that's going up, well, there wasn't too many people that said goodbye. Tara did.
Well, she kind of just did a nod and a hand gesture. Yeah. Daryl, because Rick goes up to Michonne and says, look, we need to move Carl out of here. He's like, I don't want him to die in the sewer, in a sense. So we need to get him out of here. But at first, Rick wanted Michonne to take Judith to the hilltop because if anything happened to her, he starts getting emotional. And Daryl says, I will do it. I got this. So he takes Judith, and on his way out, he turns to Carl and says, this is because of you. You saved everyone here, man.
Yeah.
This is.
I think that was perfect because this is a guy that isn't really known to get emotional.
No. He does when people who were close to him die.
Yeah, and Carl was
he doesn't say encouraging.
Close to him.
Yeah.
But as Carl is pretty much on his deathbed, he's not going to get emotional. But that was just his way of just, saying goodbye.
But the biggest one that made me cry was
Sadiq.
No, well, that, but when he says goodbye to Judith.
Oh God.
When he says his goodbye to Judith, and he looks to her and said, what I got from this is that he's passing the torch. He gave his hat to Judith. He says, this hat made me feel closer to my dad. It made me feel like I was as strong as him wearing it. And, listen to what dad says. But from time to time, because he says, I feel that it's the children who help guide our parents. And that was amazing. Man. That was just amazing.
Yeah, that was amazing. Another thing he also said in that speech to Judith was, my mom told me that I would beat this world. And I think that that's you that's going to beat this world.
Yeah.
And not
so
me. It was real sad.
And then she cried as she was being
that was terrible
as she tried to hug him, or I think she maybe gave him a hug, and then as she went
that was terrible.
Went with Daryl, she cried. So I mean, good actress. I mean, she's very young.
I don't know if that was planned, and maybe they were like, "Oh, she's crying, perfect time."
Maybe I don't know. But she did pretty well with hearing the bombs and stuff down there for being young as she is.
They probably added that sound effect afterwards.
Yeah, maybe, probably. Yeah, you're right.
You edit these videos. You should know.
They edited everything. No, it wasn't even a real Judith.
And you know what I'm thinking now? Just to throw some BS into this, you don't have that much firepower.
No, not
those kind of bombs.
They do take half of everybody's stuff, so who knows what they have. I mean, they had a freaking massive 50 cal.
I just wanted to throw a little bit of light humor in there with this because it's pretty heavy.
Right. Sadiq's was
that one was bad. That one was, not bad as in, shitty saying, but that one got me too.
It was tough. Sadiq, he says, look, you were helping me honor my mom, and I'm gonna do the same for you. I'm going to honor you. You gave me a chance. You've given me, basically, you saved my life. I'm going to honor you.
Says it like 3 or 4 times.
Yeah, and then they do a cool hand thing, and Carl says, well, good luck. You're stuck with us now. Which was pretty sweet. So.
Yeah, could they have not picked a perfect actor for Sadiq?
Oh, it's perfect.
Yeah. That casting was great.
Hopefully it's only going to get better, hopefully. Yeah. So then we do get, they do get out of the sewer. Michonne, Rick are dragging Carl out. They're trying to make it to a house, and Carl, because he's so weak, he's like, no, just put me down. And Rick's like, no, I'm not leaving you out here. So they go into this, looks like a little church, right?
Possibly. It is the church.
It is the church.
Because in a backdrop or a wide view, as they're laying on the floor, there are the church windows with the multi-pane. I forget what it's called.
Yeah,
I know what you're saying. The church glass.
And this is where we get kind of the climax of Carl. He's talking with them again, and he's saying his goodbyes. But the biggest thing in here is what he tells his dad is, look, I have a vision for you, and I have a vision for all of you, but I want you to go back to your old self. When you put down your gun, when you stopped fighting.
Back at the prison,
you took those people from Woodbury, you brought them in.
Yeah.
That is what you need to get back to. Rick even says, I don't think I can go back to that way. Carl says, I know you can. He believes in it. And we'll get into the vision and the old man Rick stuff here in a little bit. But
one thing I did want to mention too is right when they set him down and get into the church, he says, "Thank you for bringing me here."
Yeah. Or no, thank you for bringing me. Yeah. Thank you for bringing me here. He also mentions,
and then Rick's like, well, I had to get you out of the sewer. I wasn't going to let you die there. And Carl's like, no, thank you for getting me to where I am today.
Yeah. Yeah, that was big. That's huge, man. Yeah. Because Carl also mentions about, back at the prison where that one kid that he murdered, who,
that was brutal.
The kid who was lowering down his weapon, and he actually shot and killed him. That was at that point in time where Carl had that mindset of just killing. But when Rick changed his outlook and stopped fighting, not wanting to kill, and brought people in, that's what helped change Carl to change him who he is today and who he was then.
And I think that was a way of letting his dad know, maybe a little bit of a confession, like, this is what I did, I'm dying, this is what I did, but also it was letting his dad know what a massive important role he played in shaping what he is today.
Exactly. Yeah, it was outstanding. People, it was really good. The other big thing is that when he goes in to explain his vision for everybody, this is where the old man Rick stuff comes into play.
We've seen this throughout the season, but prominently in this episode. We got multiple scenes of different dream sequences.
Yes, and
should we go over some of them?
All right, so we get with, Carl says, I know you can't see it yet, but I can. You have a beard. It's bigger than what it is. Michonne's happy. Judith is happy. We saw a scene before with Judith seeing Jerry, and he's helping out with the sculpting with Sadiq, which was really cool. And we see Eugene, and he's just...
That was a surprising one.
Eugene was a surprising one. It really was.
Because, and it kind of... Again, when you first saw these dream sequences, we were led to believe this was coming from Rick's point of view. Yep. And now it's coming from Carl's point of view. So initially when I saw that Eugene scene, I was like, okay, Eugene's going to do something to redeem himself, to get back into Alexandria. Otherwise, why the hell is he in Rick's dream sequence? But now this is...
Carl's vision.
This is Carl's vision for the future.
Right. And when he's explaining this to his dad and Michonne, you see the pain in his face because he knows that he's not going to be able to see it with his father. and he knows that his dad can get to that point. Rick does say to him and promise him, I will get there. But you can just see the pain in his face because he's not going to be there to see it, or not going to be there along with them to see it. We'll get to the last vision after we finish the end.
I think just to round out Carl's vision is, I believe he tells his father that he's gathered the communities together and made it a place where people can survive and thrive.
Yep.
There's farms, there's food, there's people, there's everything. It's like he rebuilt civilization. Yep. And you stressed it, and I just want to say it again, that this was a way for the show to give Rick a purpose to build that future.
Exactly. Yes. From what Nicotero says, this completely redirects Rick.
It completely makes sense now. I don't like the fact that Carl died just because I'm a comic book fan, but it makes sense, and I think they did it right.
Mm-hmm. They did it right. And we get to the end. Carl, he goes down, he pulls out his gun, and Michonne, and then they're like, no. He understands that somebody needs to do it. What does he say? Someone you love needs to do it. But Carl's like, I need to do this myself.
He especially doesn't want Michonne to do it.
Nope. Or his dad. He's like, I'm still able to do it, but he says, I have to do this. Me. I have to do this.
Yeah.
Says his goodbyes.
And that was brutal because that was, I think Rick knew it was going to happen, obviously. Mm-hmm. But the moment that he grabbed that gun, Rick put his head down on his face and his chest.
Yep.
That was the true moment in my mind that Rick said, in Rick's mind, that, okay, this is it. This is the last time I'm going to see my son alive.
Yeah. Says his goodbyes to Michonne. Tells her he loves her. She's her best friend. She's his best friend, excuse me. She says the same. And when he turns to his dad, man, that was it.
Says I love you.
Yeah.
Rick says I love you.
No, so that was tough. And then we see the final vision of Carl, or from Carl.
Is it, or is it a flash forward? Because the episode opened up with the glass shining on Rick's face. Yeah. This isn't a vision from Carl.
No, not that vision. I'm talking about Negan.
Oh, whoops.
Yeah. The dream.
My bad.
So we see part of Carl's dream is everyone is together, living happily, and Negan is there.
Well, Judith is running around, right?
Yep.
And the camera, it's really cool how they did it because the camera's kind of following Judith and she's running through the garden. Mm-hmm. And she comes up to a gentleman with his back turned picking strawberries, I think.
Yeah.
And up comes Negan.
She says, good morning. And he turns around, stands up, and says, good morning.
Well, good morning, darling.
Because it kind of calls back to episode 8, how it's got to be. When Carl is walking with Rick and he tells, Rick's like, what, do you think we're going to be picking strawberries with Negan? And Carl's like, if that's what it's going to take, it's how it's got to be. Because he's like, you're going to kill them all? And the big thing that Carl also stressed before he died was there has to be something after.
Yes.
There has to be something after. And that was the biggest thing.
Yeah, and I think he even tells him you can't kill them all.
Yep.
They have to be here.
Yep. Yeah.
So it was a very captivating episode, very sad, but again, I think they did it right. Now there was one more scene.
Yep. So calling back to how the episode opened, and where we've seen before a close up of Rick with his eyes bloodshot, looking defeated. We see that in the beginning where he says, what does he say? My mercy prevails my wrath. And so at the end, after Carl kills himself, we see Rick sitting underneath a tree.
Kind of a wide angle shot.
A wide angle shot. We'll throw it up here. He's sitting underneath the tree. And if you look closely, his right-hand side, his torso, is all bloody. And his right hand is all bloody.
Yeah, I believe it is the opposite side of being shot by Jadis. I think Jadis shot him on the other side. Mm-hmm. This is clearly a wound on the opposite side of where Jadis shot him.
Yeah, and I immediately thought of, okay, this could be similar to what they're doing in the comics. So at the end of All Out War in the comics,
or during All Out War.
During All Out War,
the final battle.
Right. Rick is shot with an arrow by Dwight, which they dipped in walker blood to try to see if it, you could get infected that way. Rick and Negan battle each other. Negan ends up breaking Rick's leg because in Carl's dream, Rick is walking around with a cane with a limp. So, don't know.
Well, that's why we originally thought it was a flash forward.
Exactly.
We didn't think it was I didn't even think it was a dream sequence. I mean, even with the faded white around the screen,
but it was the cane. Like when we saw that trailer, we saw that cane. We were like, yes, his leg is broken.
Yeah, and I think that's going to happen.
It could still be. I don't know.
I definitely think that's going to happen.
Right.
Is this a shot of directly after All Out War? The second after All Out War, Rick is so exhausted he sits down at the tree,
wherever this location is. Yeah, where it is, but. It was a very interesting way to end the episode.
It was.
Seeing that, we're like, we know exactly that's coming later. We're going to see that scene, probably the whole scene again. Yeah. So
it was amazing. I truly think that the writing has been mediocre throughout the last couple seasons, but this episode, I thought they did it brilliantly. It was
brilliant. It was really brilliant. Like we said, hats off to Chandler Riggs. He did an amazing job. I've always enjoyed him on The Walking Dead. This last episode was great. Mm-hmm. I think it was perfect. And the lines, the scripts that they had him do were great. To emphasize his point to what Rick needs to do in order to survive this war and for the community at large.
Yeah.
Going forward.
It was even really cool too, because as you get the scenes with Carl telling his father, look, you can't kill them all. This has to be a world that we can all live in, kind of in layman's terms. Cut to Morgan, who is literally about to kill everyone. They went back and forth between that, almost as if here's one side of how Carl's showing his father how we need to live, and here's the opposite of what's going on.
Yeah.
And that just leads into Morgan, in the end, not okay with what's going down.
Yeah. The pacing of the episode, how they jumped around, was great. We just wanted to kind of group it together in the right way, so this video wouldn't take 2 hours.
It almost did.
Maybe almost, yeah. But let us know, guys, your thoughts of this episode. We absolutely enjoyed it. We were crying the whole time. I've already watched it 2 more times, and I was crying. I'll admit it. I was crying. I don't care.
He was crying.
Yeah, I don't care. It was amazing. Losing a great character that way, but just going out that way was just baller.
Yeah, I mean, it was.
I wouldn't have had it any other way.
Yeah, guys, let us know what you think of the episode. Thumb up the video if you like it. Thanks for hanging in there for this entire review. Follow us on at NocBro Nation on Twitter.
Yep, and subscribe if you're new. Feel free, hit the bell icon so you always know when we're sending up videos. And stay tuned for a predictions video coming later in the week, and then back again for another review of the next episode.
Yes.
So stay tuned, guys. We'll see you next time. We're NocBro Nation. We're out.